Hey everyone, Mike here from Benya Outdoors. Today we're doing a review slash kind of a video on how to do things as well. But first, we're doing a review of this thing right here. It's called the Kast Kalibrate. It is a tool that is designed to help you save money and also to put line on your reel without any line twist. So what this thing does is it actually allows you to put the spool on it, attach it to your rod right here. You put a spool down here and it has a line counter. And that line counter tells you how much line you're putting on the spool as you're reeling it in. This keeps tension on the line and it keeps it from twisting as it feeds onto your spool, which will help you not have a lot of bird's nest, help you not have a lot of line twist, which is the enemy of every bass fisherman and any fisherman in general. So we're going to actually take this whole thing apart. We're going to do a review of it, see how good it works. I have not found anything online about this particular device. I only found the videos from Kast themselves or from sponsored anglers. So I wanted to do my own video, tell you my reactions of it, tell you if I like it, if I hate it, and we're going to go ahead and see how this thing works. Now what comes in this box is instruction manual, of course. They have the actual tool itself, but they also have this thing, and I have watched a few videos on this so I understand how it works. But they have this right here. Now what this does is it actually has a little grommet hole in it, and you actually put this on your spool and tighten it up. That allows you to hold tension on the line and keep it from twisting as it comes off. Now, this thing actually has two modes. It has a casting mode, and it also has spinning mode. So it actually has specific settings so that you don't get line twist depending on what type of reel you're doing. We're doing casting, so I'm going to set it to casting. Now the next thing I need is my spool of line, which is this right here. This year I'm trying something out. A buddy of mine told me about Kast. I haven't used Kast. I've used Power Pro. I've used, pretty much every Daiwa, Fitzgerald. I've used pretty much every brand. I haven't used Kast, so I thought I'd try it. It's a little bit less, it's actually less expensive. I think I got this roll for $19 for 320 something yards. So it's really, really cool that if it's that inexpensive and it actually works, it's going to save me a lot of money versus the Power Pro or other lines that I use. So we're going to get this line peeled off of here, and we're going to get this tool put on. The way this works is you're supposed to feed it off the top of the spool. So I'm putting this little guide through that line, and I'm going to wrap it around the spool. And this is what puts tension on that line and allows that line to just come off the way it's supposed to. And I'm going to cinch it up a little bit. I'm not sure how tight this needs to be. Again, I've never used this tool. So we're going to give it a little bit of tension. So when we put the line on the device itself, the way this works is we have this little screw thread, and it goes through the line like that. So we go through the hole that's provided by the manufacturer in the spool, and it threads into this thing here. And it just kind of threads on there. And honestly, it kind of goes in kind of weird. I don't really know if I like that or not, but essentially it just goes on there, holds that spool on there, keeps it from coming off. Now I'm looking at the thing. There's a guide on there that shows the spinning reel. And it says the casting reel, you're supposed to go around and through this hole right here. Now this hole is actually my counter. So I fish it through the hole. See right there, it kind of fishes up through, off the spool, through this hole, and then you lock that mechanism, and that will allow you to know how much line you're putting on your reel. And I'm going to fish that line through the first eye, and the only eye in this case, because I'm using half of a rod. And now I'm going to tie it to my reel. I'm going to show you guys real quick a little trick I do when I tie it to these reels. Casting reels specifically, a lot of them have a cool feature that a lot of people don't realize and think about using. So the first thing I do is I put my line through the eye in the end of my reel. So through that hole in the end of it. Now, if you look in there, it's going to be pretty hard to tie a knot around that area. But a lot of reels have this door that opens up and pops off, exposing your spool. So what I like to do is actually take my line, now that it's through the hole, it's through the reel, and I pull it through, and then I just make sure there's no twist. I line it up like it would be as if it was inside of the reel. I fish it through the side door, and then I tie it on my spool outside of my reel. This allows me to tie a slip knot, get in there, cut the tag end really short. I don't have to try to fish it through the damn reel, try to figure out how to make it line up. I don't have to do anything fancy. I just tie a simple slip knot, I pull it tight, and I'm doing all this with my spool in my hand instead of doing it completely separate. It makes a huge difference when trying to do this. If you have a reel that comes apart real easily, most do come apart. Some actually come apart with tools or other things, but if you have one that comes apart easily, like a lot of the Daiwas do this, and a lot of the bigger brands have that door so you can get to the spool, it makes it a hell of a lot easier. Now I cut that tag in as close as I possibly can. Now what I do here is I pull the slack out so that the spool, I can kind of show you guys, you pull the slack out until that spool lines back up with where it's supposed to go. I hold tension on that line so it doesn't get any twist in it. I put this door back on, lock that handle, because if you don't push that handle back to the non-open position, that door will open up on you. So now that I got this all rigged up and ready to go, and I will say, read the instructions. There's a little bit of a learning curve on figuring out how to rig this thing up. But then you just reel your line.
I want to go fast.
If you guys can see here, I put about 207 feet on the reel. You can kind of see here, that's about how much I've left on the edge of the spool. It's not exactly perfect. I probably should have put a little bit less on, but that's how much line I put on roughly. I probably should take off a little bit, but I usually end up stripping a little bit as I feed it through the rod. And as I tie my first knot, I tend to do a little bit liberal with pulling line through, so I think it'll be just about right. So 200 feet's about 60 yards. This reel does not hold a ton of line, but that's okay. That's actually what it's for. So that's one of the reasons why you would use this device, because I know that I just put 66 yards of the 300 on the reel. Now I know how much line I have left based on the fact that I can take what it says on the spool minus 66, and I know how much I've got left, so then I can split it up amongst the rest of the rods. So overall, this thing really works. I'm really impressed with it. I actually am talking to you a few days later. I've actually gone through and done 6 casting and 2 spinning reels with this thing, and there is a little bit of a finessey application to get this thing on there right, to get it hooked up. But once you figure it out, once you get this thing dialed in, it really does help to let you know exactly how much line you're putting on your rod. It's really easy to keep everything self-contained, and overall it does save you money because I was able to know exactly how much line was on the spool, so I knew I could keep adding more and more line to each reel as I went through. So I hope this helps you. I hope if you were thinking about getting this, you now have the information you need to buy it or not buy it based on my opinion. And I really think that this thing is worth the money, but make your own judgment call. I want to thank you all for coming along with me. I really appreciate everyone who takes time to watch my videos. If you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and as always, let's get out there, catch more fish.